Hello.
Hello.
Hi, welcome
Hello.
everybody to our last session of the day. I don't know how we got here. It seems to be a blur for me, but hopefully for everybody here, you've kind of made some new connections, learned a lot, and hopefully had a little bit of fun along the way. And yeah, if you've been here since the beginning, first of all, wow. Thank you for sticking it through. I think we're coming up to hour 5. So yeah, that means you would have already seen me already. But if you haven't, I'm Cass. I run the content and community squad here at Superside. And I have to give a shout out to my team for putting this awesome event together. They've been working behind the scenes. So thank you to everybody involved. And with that, let's get on to our last session. We have two very awesome people speaking about how to cut through the noise from two really notable brands. First, we have Justin Rands, the director of brand at Oyster. He has a passion for brand identity, art direction, design systems, animation, all that cool stuff. His career has taken him through both small and large startups as well as agencies. Justin really has experience from many backgrounds and environments, which is, worked for companies like Intercom and Warner Bros. And done some stuff on his own for, I think, Twitter, Chick-fil-A, Toyota, Salesforce, EA Sports, and probably a ton more. So welcome, Justin.
Hi. Happy to be here. I'm super stoked. Thanks for sticking on with us this long. If
Yes.
whoever's stayed this whole way.
And we have some good stuff, so please keep hanging out here. And then we have Derek Rhodes, who is currently the VP of Marketplaces at Vimeo. He has been with Vimeo for over 6 years in various director level roles to help expand the programs that Vimeo offers. Previously, Derek worked for Shutterstock as their director of footage, with the primary goal of driving the marketing of Shutterstock's footage offering in order to increase revenue and growth for the business internationally. So yeah, two awesome leaders, and welcome, Derek.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cool. For this session, we're going to shake it up a little bit. We are going to start it off with a couple speaker cues, a little bit of discussion. Then we're going to go into some presentations. First, Derek will take us through some examples of video creative specifically that stands out, along with maybe why these videos perform. And then Justin's actually going to take us through the Oyster rebrand, a little bit of BTS action, kind of talking through the thinking and strategy behind that. So let's get into the discussion. First up, I want to know kind of what brands you both are seeing that have this standout factor, and what exactly makes them stand out. Is it something that you can pinpoint? Maybe I'll start with you, Justin.
Yeah, sure. This one might be off the wall, but there's a brand called Rose Delights. They're based out of Los Angeles, and they actually make like edibles for marijuana purposes. I'm a big gummy person. Hey, we're live. This is fine.
Oh, wow, are we doing that right at the top?
I'm in California. It's okay. Yeah, there are a lot of different brands in that space that are like kind of trashy looking. They're like fast fashion, I'd say. They kind of go the complete opposite and stand out. So they have beautiful photography, beautiful macro shots of like their process, videos that they have on loop on their website and use all across their social channels. And their actual packaging is like beautiful. It's embossed. It has really nice texture to it. Some of these other places just like you rip open the top and like you dig in, but this is more like unfolding, and it feels like kind of like an Apple experience when it comes to edibles, which is super cool. And they stay consistent across all their platforms. I just think it's I thought I would throw one out that's sort of random. It just feels upscale and refined compared to their counterparts, and I just really appreciate that level of detail that goes into the whole thing. It's just something that I haven't seen at all. I mean, the stuff's been around for a while, so it's really cool to see a brand treat things so delicately.
Yeah, and a strong differentiator, I guess, as you pointed out, across like many fronts and applications. Anything from you, Derek, on that front?
Yeah, it's interesting. To me, the two of the brands that really jump out in this category kind of resonate with Justin's quality focus. North Face and Patagonia, to me, have always been brands that invest a lot in like really highly well-produced branded content. It's always like the quality is always the focus. And so for me, they set like a high benchmark kind of in both in the outdoor kind of obvious, clothing space. And then I really loved the Squarespace Super Bowl ad with Adam Driver. I thought that was like, and Squarespace in general, I think does a really good job of kind of setting the bar pretty high. Yeah, that was just like really well done. Burberry is another brand. Like they had a stat pick with Open Spaces, I think last year or the year before, that visually was just kind of next level, very like risk taking and beautiful. So those were some that just off the top of my head kind of jump out.
Yeah. Yeah, I can also hear you speaking towards like that brand consistency side. I think both of you kind of mentioned that. Do you think that plays a lot in a brand standing out?
I think so. Yeah, I think, you know, it's one thing to do like a one-off that's kind of cool or fun, but it seems like the best brands show up in a smart way and with a lot of quality consistently over time for me, and that's kind of important, I think.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to going to the market. Like if the outside of the market's beautiful and you go in and there's a couple beautiful aisles and all of a sudden you turn and you're just like, what in the world's happening here? And like the customer service is bad and you're just like, this is bad. This feels bad. Like
Yeah.
there's parts that are nice, but if it's not, you know, holistic,
Yeah.
then it feels off.
Yeah, the whole experience. I love that example. I guess like related to that, do you two see a benefit in adopting trends to help your brand stand out? Like how do you go about deciding what to jump on or what not to? Because I think it can be tempting for people to kind of jump on these trends to hopefully get themselves in front of more people faster.
Yeah, I would say, you want to go, Justin?
Well, you can go first this time.
Yeah, I would say like with Vimeo, we kind of have a cautious but like experimental approach, if that makes sense. So we, you know, and just with brands in general, I think like trends can be your friend to some degree, but if you're not, if you don't like jump in with the right tone, and your timing's not good, it could kind of work against you, right? Like we've seen that a lot where a brand tries to like jump onto a meme or like get into a conversation and it just seems like awkward and weird and it's too late. And so we're kind of like, I think if there's someone that has an idea like within Vimeo to do something trend like related, if it's clever and like everyone's like, oh yeah, for sure, like this makes sense, then we'll do it. And I think I kind of like would see the same with other brands. Like if we're trying too hard, it's maybe not worth it.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think there's been a lot of like really good trends in design and also really bad ones. Like I'm just thinking of the one corporate Memphis, if folks know that illustration style. That's like blobby. There's no facial features, no eyes, no mouth. And it's really great for scaling and doing quick illustrations. But you just have to be cognizant of how many folks are jumping on the train. And if it's something that feels like your brand can stand out by doing that, ultimately, I think it comes back to like type photography, like the foundational things to like really help you stand out. And then you can kind of think about like, okay, if something's trending, I mean, there's a lot of trendy things we have at Oyster, but I think you just have to be careful about how much of an expression you're doing of each one. And strategically think about where you're going to use it if you're going to try it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Last question before we dive into slides is probably one that is on top of most people's minds, AI. Do you think that AI can be a powerful tool in helping brands stand out, or can it do more harm than good? Any spicy takes on that? Maybe I'll start with you, Justin, this time.
Oh God, I've gone back and forth with this so much. I love and hate AI. You know, like it's taking people's jobs, but it's also you can use it in a way that might help fuel your entire organization. Like Photoshop has always had actions. You can always like that's sort of AI in itself. I can map out something in Photoshop and then have an action attached to it, and then it would create and recreate what I've done. So using it in a tool that way it's still been around for a while. We've been starting to dip our toes into it. Obviously ChatGPT for like naming things, even motion. There are like tools that Runway has where you can create all the assets in Figma or Illustrator or whatever, and then import them, do some like frame interpolation in Runway, and it creates more of a like morphed animated GIF that you might take 2 hours to make, and it only takes 15 minutes. Now, I don't think it's hard when it comes to like photography and video, you know, like that stuff's crazy. I think there's an opportunity to tell stories with like doing storyboarding and getting your idea together faster and selling it earlier, but not then taking the job of the photographer or art directors or makeup artists or whoever that's going to actually do the shoot. But I think if you use it in a way to sell the idea to stakeholders early, get people on board rather than have some really crappy sketches, then it could be really powerful.
Anything to add there, Derek? Before we jump into your slides, actually, maybe you can segue it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I could try to segue it. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I would plus one everything Justin just said. Like, I think, you know, we tend to use AI like as a practical tool for a lot of things right now, just as a shortcut. So for example, let's say you need to make a 90-second video and you just want like a sample script to start from, you know, you're going to customize that and change it, and it's going to be very different. But it's nice to be able to generate something like really quickly just to start with. Same with like Midjourney for images, where if you just need something placeholder, but you might shoot it practically later. I'm very curious like where it's all headed. I mean, Vimeo is like integrating practical AI when it's helpful to move people's projects along and that sort of thing right now. You know, so I think from a video production perspective, I don't see like a massive threat right now where people are going to just generate purely out of AI, like a, you know, but it's really interesting and fun to play with. So be curious to see how it evolves. Yeah, to jump into the slides, I don't have anything AI specific in my deck, but I will say that you know, when it comes to, you know, standout video creative that performs, like I am going to talk a lot about taking risks and trying things and not being afraid of doing things that are kind of outside how you might normally work, which I think AI speaks to, right? I mean, is that fair as a segue? Like, it's kind of like a lot of people are unsure about it, but I think there's ways to integrate AI right now that are really interesting and helpful and cool. So I broke these slides up into 3 kind of main parts with a video for each part. So I'm going to hit kind of like 3 different concepts and keep it kind of short and sweet that I think you can digest like relatively quickly. So the first section we're calling Next Level Native First. And I'm focusing on a video from a Swedish artist called Lykke Li. And she made this it's from her 2022 album called I. And basically what they did, she partnered with a director called Theo Lindquist, and she created 7 60 seconds, what she called visual loops, exploring themes in her music, like from the album. And the idea here is that, you know, I'm going to show you just the first loop, but it repeats 3 times, like throughout the course of her music video. And just when you're watching it, think about like this thing is going to play 3 more times, and how that kind of forms like a narrative or tells the story of the track. And then I'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side. So let's go ahead and watch this first video from Lykke Li. Cool. So what I really love about this concept is that, you know, she and her team like are very, very clearly focused on creating something like loopable. And so they have set themselves up with this parameter, like it's going to be 60 seconds. The story is going to loop back around and just start from the same spot where it ended. And I found this quote that where she talked about this project, and she said, she wanted to capture the beauty and grandeur of a European art house film while making something that's really built for, contemporary audience like TikTok, Instagram, Reels. So the intention is to deliver the impact of a film in 60 seconds on a phone screen. I love this thinking where it's like, this is where we're experiencing things. This is where like emotional experiences are happening. So I'm going to adjust my work and focus my energy on telling a story within that context. So she's recognizing that, TikTok and Instagram are the places where she needs to be, that, attention spans are short, and she still wants to deliver like an emotional experience that like conveys the emotion behind the work, which I thought was really cool. So, the second kind of category here we're calling involve your audience. And this one, it sounds very kind of basic and generic, but I'm going to show you an example of a way to involve your audience. It's a bit newer. And this is about using interactive video. So this is a little bit of a shameless plug for Vimeo. We launched interactive not too long ago, but this is a way to kind of think outside of the box on how you can engage an audience in a different way using technology and video. And I'm going to walk you through this video and talk a little bit about it while we watch it. So it's from the Edinburgh Zoo and a UK-based agency called Colada Creative. So you'll see like at the start, you have this like slightly different vibe where you can see that there are elements that you can click on. So this is kind of an introduction from one of the people running the facility there. And basically what you'll see is that I'm the yellow cursor here. And, this video immediately presents you with options for like, where would you like to go in the zoo? Okay, great. Let's look at the bears. And so it's a kind of a fun way, like very like kid friendly, to allow you to quickly navigate through the experience of the zoo. What I really love is like this top left menu gives you the whole zoo map. You can click anywhere on the map. And then you have these like hotspots within each video to go in and learn more about like giraffes, for example. I love that they feature the folks behind the scenes at the zoo that you don't normally see. So all the keepers are featured in the video. And it's just really easy and intuitive. You can kind of learn more about these folks, learn more about the animals. It's not like they're trying to represent the zoo in a video, but it's a nice, tasteful way to kind of navigate video differently. So this is, for me, it's super interesting. It's all about engagement. It's all about, getting folks to spend more time having an experience. So, in looking at kind of how this this creative tends to work, basically they don't see it as like replacing the experience of visiting the zoo, but it's like a different layer, right? It's like a different level of experience. It's a different map to explore, essentially, how to kind of navigate. If you think about your brand, it's a different kind of lens into your brand work. And we found this cool data point that interactive video is, for viewers, it's 32% more memorable than traditional video, even if they don't actually click anywhere, even if they don't jump in and actually navigate the video. Just the idea that that's there makes the video a lot more memorable. That this comes from Marketing Drive. They did a survey. So the third one, and I think one of the most fun and maybe the most Vimeo of these, we're calling Upending Expectations. And this is a staff pick video from a filmmaker called Najib Tarazi. The video is called One More Try. And it's pretty short. What I love about this concept is that it's really all about revealing what happens behind the scenes. So Najib is really showing us the process as part of the work rather than the final outcome of the piece. So let's take a look at this video, and then I'll make a few observations about how this kind of relates to marketing in the world that we're in. Awesome. So yeah, this is a quote that we really liked that kind of relates to this idea of an unpredictable outcome. And basically, what this doctor found was that you're this novelty triggered experience, causes you to remember a lot better. Looking at like a Stella McCartney project, basically where the idea was that like this model was taking part in this runway shoot. It was like really fancy and very kind of choreographed. But this moment like backstage where she was drinking tea on the couch, like someone happened to capture it and it actually went kind of viral and became more of the story than the actual shoot that they spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on. Kind of speaks to the idea of like upending expectations, breaking your own rules, not being afraid to, to show what's going on behind the scenes, for your brand or your project. So those are very three short and sweet different ways to approach, creative filmmaking, creative videos. I think just to summarize, it's, I think native content that's specifically for native and not retrofitted. We think, involving your audience in the story using things like interactive tools and new technology. And then the third one was really upending expectations, drawing viewers in by capturing their attention. So I will hand it over to Justin for his brand refresh. I'm really excited to hear this part.
Cool, thank you. I love that imperfection talk because that's exactly what this Oyster brand refresh is all about. If anyone's ever involved in a rebrand or a refresh, when it happens, it's not often. And if you're a part of it, it's something special. This came from the CEO. He had an idea and vision for something called Work Style, which is a lifestyle brand mixed with a working brand, especially we're fully remote here at Oyster. So what does that look like for everyday people? Okay, so we brand values to keep in mind here, work style values to keep in mind, and OBS, that's Oyster Brand Studio values to keep in mind. As you can tell, I'm a little bit interesting, weird, and playful, so that's infused in this stuff, and so is everyone on my team. So first and foremost, we looked at our brand, we did a big audit, we did a brainstorm, and then we had some like big sprints. So this is our audit. We looked at everything we had ever done over the past year and a half or so, from social to landing pages to video, etc., and just tried to see what was working, what wasn't. We pulled a lot of numbers from ads that we had out there and see if it was working well. Then we had a monster brainstorm with not only the OBS team, but the rest of marketing to look at our audit and try to think about what work style meant to them. So that could mean someone is a dad, but I'm also a basketball player, or I do illustration, or there's stuff behind me here, but like what's it look like over here? There's stuff all over the ground. I have my dog bowl here. How can you infuse that stuff into like things like photography, which is a big way to stand out from other brands. Then we did a massive sprint. So looking at things that tied to our identity of being global, what are some things that connect us that are in our everyday lives? Signs, carpets, patterns, markers, what's really human? And we started to pull that stuff together to really come up with a way that could make us stand out and be visually appealing to everyone. So these are the territories we tackled: color, photography, lines, markers, product UI. We did it all. We ended up updating our color palette. We threw all these neons in there that came from our original palette to really like up the vibrancy. So we can tone up or down our playfulness depending on the medium that we're focusing on. So like we were at a conference, HR Transform, earlier this year, and we had a lot of neons just to stand out. This was the big one. This was our photo shoot. We ended up looking at a bunch of different brands, our competitors, like Deal, Remote, Papaya. They are using a photography style that's kind of cold. Like everyone's just sort of happy, very close up at their computer. There's not a lot of emotion there. All the lighting is kind of the same. You can keep cruising. I mean, like it's all feeling nice, but they're not really telling a story. Like, what are they laughing at? Where are they? I don't know. I have no idea. So we looked at the pros and cons of all stuff, and then came up with our own mood board. This high flash photography, it is kind of a trend, but it's nice. It feels human. It feels imperfect. You're able to see not only the person but where they live. It automatically puts a story together in your mind about what they're all about. So we ended up having a shoot in Los Angeles. The few of the team were involved, and we were involved with Ryan Glennon down in LA and his team. We put together 6 archetypes, which we shot. So like more than a software engineer, always a ceramicist. We played on this idea of people being multifaceted. So yeah, styling, we kind of keep cruising through these slides, but there was a lot that went into it. We built these actual full shoots, and ended up having a really wonderful 2-day shoot in LA in this wonderful building. Our friend Ryan built all these sets from scratch, and we helped pick out all the props, but really showing the imperfections of our lives and how multifaceted we all are. So that was great. And you're starting to see like how this stuff comes together, mixed with all those other things we updated into more of like a human centered brand. There's imperfect lines, there's collage, there's huge numbers to speak to like all the different locations that we all live in. And we've started updating this stuff with animations and just like leaning into this a lot more, which is like really uplifting our brand as a whole. And I think we have a video right at the end. I know we're getting close to time, so we can just get there. We just updated our website like maybe a month or so ago, and we're starting to see some good traction there. Starting to feel fresh and not as juvenile as the older brand was. And I'll end with this video. I really wanted to encapsulate the energy, the humanness of Oyster, and the ability to work from anywhere and hire from anywhere within a fun shoot. We wanted to capture an energy that was expressive but also authentic. Our talent that we hired aren't models or anything. They're real people with the roles and different backgrounds that make up who they are. Trying to really capture that energy of someone who's a marketer or also a dad, or someone who's a lawyer and also a surfer. What's that energy feel like? Those two separate quote unquote ideas in a shot. And I think we captured it really well.
Our passions and hobbies contribute to the full picture of who we are as people, and that's something really important to recognize and celebrate.
Cool.
That was awesome.
That was great.
I was smiling the whole time. I don't know, like it's just something about the brand feel. The comments were on fire too. People were just saying some really awesome stuff about like the authenticity and the whole concept. So yeah, big kudos to you and your team, Justin. That's incredible.
Really
yeah,
cool.
Thanks. The team's awesome. I work with incredible people, so hats off to all of them.
Amazing. I'm curious, just on this topic, I know we're close to time. If people can hang around for a couple more minutes, we will get a few cues in. But like, how did you land on that winning style? Just like, you know, looking at your process, looking at all of those worksheets and like samples and ideas, like how did you kind of land on that? Was there a way for you to like validate that this was the right thinking and the right strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's looping in the stakeholders and everybody involved from the beginning, then not hiding and communicating. I was at Figma, the conference last week, and you know, the crux of everything is communication. As long as you're involving everybody along with the process, so they're not surprised by anything, then you're doing your job. And you just have to keep, you know, reiterating what the mission is, what the goals are, looking back at the strategy just to tie to it, and just making sure, like, especially the CEO, on board with that stuff, because ultimately it's not about the studio, it's about the company.
Yeah. And I guess now that the brand is rolled out, like this new refresh, how are you guys kind of measuring that success? I mean, it's clear that it's so unique in comparison to your competitors and just in general in the market, but yeah, I'm curious how you guys are measuring that today.
Yeah, we're measuring things through like tone of voice. We have a PR partner that we are measuring impressions from our founder brand. We're putting surveys out. We're starting to see, you know, how many visitors to the homepage and other key pages on our website, and kind of taking the aggregates of all that stuff and having like this like brand health score that we're tracking month to month, and hopefully in the right direction.
Amazing. Looking forward to, yeah, just keep following along on the Oyster journey. It's been incredible to see. A question for you, Derek, before we hop off, just around the power of storytelling. Like, I really love the examples you shared. The chat was also on fire for you, your prezzo, and just
Great.
like, I think it was it's refreshing to see these different styles of video, and just like, how can you apply that to maybe more of that B2B world? And maybe you can just speak a little bit to that power of storytelling angle.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think what's interesting, or maybe not interesting a lot of times in like, especially in B2B marketing, is that we, like when it comes to concepting like a new video or a new creative project, sometimes the like early ideas are really cool and fun and groundbreaking and like bend the rules. And then oftentimes we tend to like back down from them, or we're kind of like, oh, that would be hard to pull off. Like it seems complicated. And I've seen creative teams like default back into kind of like what they know and what they've done before. You know, so for things like, you know, interactive video or things like showing what's happening like behind the scenes of a video might feel like you're being too vulnerable. But I think to Justin's point, like that video he just showed you, like it just makes you feel like you want to be part of it because it's human and
Yeah.
it feels like good. And I think people kind of want that from brands now, right? Like it's kind of, it's a little bit boring just to kind of like make a traditional ad doing it the way it's always been done. And I like the idea of like, you know, like the Licky Lee project, like it's like, what if we make it like a 60-second loop but it looks like a beautiful film and it's really emotional. You know, the Stella McCartney thing kind of jumps out too. It's like someone was brave enough, a creative director, to say like, hey, actually this moment kind of tells a story that we're not telling, you know, and it's cool. It's like an interesting window into like how we work and who we are and what happens like behind the scenes. So I think like revealing more of like your DNA is cool, you know. And I think Oyster's, like, I've really enjoyed looking at like their brand and like the typography and the feel of it. Like you feel like the humanness comes through, which I think is a massive accomplishment. I mean, it's really cool. It's nice to see that.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Just to wrap this up, I guess, because we are over time, but you know, we can keep going. No, I know you guys have to jump off, but yeah, I think like something that's come up through this whole entire event is just the idea of trends and how trends can be powerful, but they can also kind of make everybody look the same. And so do you guys want to speak anything around like that idea? And if like how can a brand kind of find that authenticity? Is there a way to like look to things outside of these trends, maybe in the past, nostalgia, things like that, that might like bring up more fresh ideas that can help a brand stand out?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes like the stories come from within, you know, like, so I know, for example, at Vimeo, there have been multiple projects in the past where we work with external agencies, and that's great. I mean, I think it makes sense for specific types of projects, and sometimes it just accelerates things, and there's new ideas, et cetera, and that's awesome. But I think, you know, oftentimes the people that know the brand and feel closest to it are the ones like internally, and sometimes it's hard to like maybe give those creative voices like a little bit more credibility, or, you know, put more, if you will, especially from younger folks. So I've seen some of our best ideas like come out of that like willingness by senior folks to entertain and go with an idea that like someone's bringing to the table that's younger, and it's just like, hey, would it be cool if we did it this way, or like, let me try this other thing, or I want to tell a personal story. Like, you know, again, it's like, it's okay to take risks and be vulnerable and show the making of, I think. And the videos I'm drawn to like kind of do that, you know. So, and the same with the brands, like it's kind of, you know, it's kind of refreshing to see that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. I mean, I think it all comes down to like play. you know, like I have a 2.5-year-old. I'm playing all the time, but you know, when I was at agencies and stuff like that, we go into places and try to like invoke like a sense of that play mindset. So we're trying to do that at Oyster as well. It's a matter of just playing with the tools, playing with the trends, and kind of like working with each other and communicating and sharing to see if something starts to like come out of that feels more true to where we're at or different. And just trying to stay in that mindset all the time will help you unlock like different ideas.
Awesome. I think there's like a Lego tagline that my brain's like trying to find, but I can't get it. Anyways, the power of play. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your examples and taking us through the presentation, answering some questions. I really appreciate both of you being here, and I'm going to have to rewatch because I feel like I was just, you know, all over the place, but really awesome examples, and there's a lot for me to take in, and I hope that everybody else feels the same. So yeah, that's it for us.